happen off the rift that we should get into game number 2 anyway. So it's going to be Nightblue's team stepping up to the plate here on the blue side, going up against Imaqtpie and his boys. They just took a game off of Chick2G's army to even up their score at 1-1 for the week. It is Cutie-Pie's team's last game of the week. Can they get that coveted 2-1 and tie Voyboy's team for a first place slot? Or is it going to be Nightblue and his team looking to try to get themselves out of the 0-1 hole and pick up a win? The picks and bans are down for game number 1. We already have 4 of them already. So Sifa, why don't you get to going on what they are?
So, at this point, bans we see are coming out are pretty standard. We see Blem's Annie banned away. Lee Sin still left open for him, potentially. Won't be a surprise if he does pick it. Lee Sin support, though, didn't look too good when he did play it. Blitzcrank and Fizz banned away for the enemy team. Blitzcrank, or for Nightblue's team, rather. Blitzcrank taken away from Imaqtpie, a notable hook master. And, of course, Fishing for Earth is main. Fizz was taken away as well. Fiddlesticks. Kind of surprising that was taken away from Harry Abs. Harry Abs obviously comfortable on it, but I don't think it was the pivotal piece of their win the previous game. Corky also taken away. Strongest AD carry on the patch, arguably. Kind of just a general ban. Maybe not targeted specifically, but still a good choice. Riven, locked in for Imaqtpie. Tell me about the Riven pick.
Well, the Riven pickup last game for Grigney was very, very powerful. 9-3-10. I believe with his final record on it. It wrecked Rek'Sai in the top lane, which was a little surprising, although during the laning phase, we kind of expected it to go that way. But in the late game, became an absolute beast, getting a Guardian Angel, being able to melt through players twice in a single life. So having that one taken away, not all too surprising. As you mentioned, the target ban's also not too surprising. But that Fiddlesticks ban towards Harry Avs, let's see how that works out, because that's a double-edged sword. Nightblue played that one in the first game of the OMEN Encounter last week. He's played it quite efficiently for a little bit of time now, but that's kind of taken out of his own repertoire. We also do have to touch upon one thing from the side of Nightblue's team. Uzi is going to be taken from the random substitute pool of undrafted players. Unfortunately, they did not have all 5 of their players that they played with yesterday in their last game, so Uzi is stepping in for a substitute for that role. We are going to see on Cutie Pie side, though, nope, they've gone with the power couple in the bottom lane once again. Jana and Lucian worked out very great for Blem and Fabi last game.
Blem looking much more comfortable on Jana than he did last week. No surprise on the opposite side we see the Thresh locked in, though, for Imaqtpie. Fabi also looking pretty good on Lucian, despite maybe an early game disadvantage, was coming in big in those late game team fights. Uzi, clearly a marksman main from, of course, the Chinese namesake. Locking in that Graves versus Lucian, supposedly a matchup that favors Graves, but it'll be interesting to see how this exactly plays out.
What if he's just a gun enthusiast and only plays champions with guns?
I mean,
you don't know him.
Nope. No one really has an Uzi in this game, though.
Twitch?
Whoa, man. All right. I'll give that to you, but I still don't think that's an Uzi.
It's close enough. But the Graves picked up against Lucian. That's a choice we've seen picked into Lucian, into Corky very frequently now. Graves is that he was the auto attack based AD carry that was very powerful during the season 2 Holy Trinity of Trinity Force AD carries. So having him picked up here against a Lucian or a Corky pickup, not all too surprising. The Thresh being picked up for Imaqtpie, really surprised that one got through the picks and bans.
Yeah, really surprised it wasn't first picked. Riven taken away from Grigney there. I mean, he did play really well last game, so I understand wanting to deny him that. But then picking Jana over Thresh there, maybe it's just because Blem isn't comfortable on Thresh, but giving up a huge pick there is pretty surprising. Harry Abs opting to play Vi this game could come in strong for him, especially if they try to put a lot of their damage on a single character. Obviously, Graves not going to be able to get away from that, even with all the peel that Thresh offers. So interesting picks. Mundo in the top lane. We've talked earlier about how Mundo is severely weakened by how much Morellonomicon has been improved as an item path for casters. But once again, you still have to get Mundo low for that to be an effective option. So it'll be interesting to see what they opt to pick here for the mid lane. I'm guessing someone with a lot of burst damage so that they can use that Morellonomicon pick. But at the same time, we also see 2 Ignites on the side of their team so far.
They do, so we'll have to see how that becomes a big factor against Dr. Mundo. Not the most popular champion in the top lane as of recent changes. We'll have to see here. And Vi actually being picked up in the jungle. I personally love the Vi pickup right here. She seems to have everything that you would want from a jungler right now. The hard CC coming out from her ultimate, the mobility to jump around the map. Plus, she has that built-in shield. Every couple of seconds, she uses one of those abilities. She's not going to get the crap kicked out of her in the jungle like some people have seen with Lee Sins and Kha'Zix as of most recently. A little less so Lee Sin, a little bit more so with Kha'Zix. But on the opposite side here for Nightblue, it looks like he might be rocking that Jarvan pickup. The Lissandra has also been locked in. Last pickup here from Moonway coming in for the side of Nightblue's team. So pretty standard kind of stuff, except for maybe the Riven pickup coming out from Nightblue's side here. And, well, we did mention Lee Sin. You mentioned the jungle. Doesn't mean it has to be in the jungle here. Blem hovering over the Lee Sin. It's one of his champions. It has been untouched. They picked up the Janna for him, but that doesn't mean that Blem has to play support.
I don't think Blem's going to pick it. I think Blem's on Janna. I think he just wants to show. Oh, well, okay, so we do see them leaving champion select here for those of you on the stream. I don't know exactly how it's going to affect the overlay. That's because he's actually picking Victor. Blem doesn't really have a huge number of champions on this specific account, so not always the best choice for him to last pick, but they did opt to pick Victor as their final pick, so in a couple seconds you will see that probably on the overlay as we get ready to go underway here.
So that's going to be Victor is the last pickup here. So their team rounded out is going to be Lucian John in the bot lane, Vi in the jungle, Mundo top lane, and Victor for mid lane. Probably going to be piloted by Imaqtpie. We saw them running with a very AD-focused team composition last game. This time around, they've got a little bit more standard, an AD carry, an AP carry, a tank, and a very mobile jungler to try to get those lanes up ahead here. But Victor's a champion that we haven't seen. I mean, he's dominated solo queue, especially when he first got his remake. Everybody was all aboard the Victor train, which I gotta say, I love Victor way beforehand, mainly as a support, but that's a tale for another day here. But it's gonna be Victor going up against Lissandra. This is kind of like a new era of AP mid champions here.
Honestly, I wouldn't be too surprised if they lane swapped on this one and tried to send Riven mid against Victor. Victor obviously has that stun field, but Riven has so much mobility it might not matter. And of course, Lissandra in the early game is going to be pretty safe from that Mundo because Mundo doesn't do enough damage. And it would be really cool to see them lane swap, but at the same time, not really sure if both of those players have the versatility to swap around like that. We do see Moonway opting to take teleport here, most likely going top lane, so maybe not the lane swap, and if they don't, it's going to be a hard matchup for Lissandra in the mid lane. Not as nearly as easy as it was for her last game against a Zed.
Well, there's a lot of burst potential coming out from the AP mid of Victor. There's a lot of lockdown potential coming out from the AP mid of Lissandra. We'll have to see, though. It's just fishing for Earth, picking up a champion we haven't really seen him play yet in the OMEN Encounter. Fizz has consistently been away from him. They're not going to let him get his main champion. We've seen him playing a lot of Syndra. You saw him playing a bit of Xerath. Now going for a little bit more of Lissandra, who, while she deals a lot of damage, you might think of her with all the crowd control she has being a little bit more utility-based for this team. So we'll have to see. Is he going to be going in? Is he going to be diving in and getting those engages and maybe popping his Zanyas to really start the fights off like we saw Strumpus doing? Is he going to be a little bit more conservative with that pickup in the mid lane? Can he actually pilot it properly, especially against Imaqtpie's Victor, who, like we said, could be a bit more aggressive during the lane phase? Those questions and more will be answered in just a little bit, everybody. We are going to take a quick commercial break before we get into game number 2 of the evening. But for all of you out there in Twitch chat land watching here on the Well Played stream, you guys can mosey on over to omen.gg and place your votes for your favorite team captains. Sifo, why should they go off and do that?
Well, whenever you go to place a vote for your team captain, not only do you affect the draft order for the following week, but you also get a chance to win one of 2 Omen notebooks. Now, we've talked a little bit before about how great these are, but keep in mind we're talking solid state hard drive, we're talking touchscreen, and top-of-the-line specs. Really excited about these computers. Wish I could get one. I'm probably going to head over and vote, and you guys should too.
You can't vote and get one. That's cheating. You get, like, inside information as to what team is what.
Okay, yeah.
Actually,
so maybe I can't vote, but one of you should vote and then give it to me because you're so impressed with my enthusiasm.
You see, actually, you guys can get some inside information as well, because if you check back week to week, these players are not only going to be earning themselves some pretty nice prize money, but they're also going to be earning themselves points throughout the entire tournament. And obviously, the more wins they get, the more points they have. So if you want to analyze those players and pretend you're a team captain yourself, you can head on over to omen.gg and keep up to date on the latest and greatest from the OMEN Encounter tournament. But we're going to take a quick commercial break. You guys check out the website. We'll be right back as we start checking out this game between Imaqtpie and Nightblue's teams. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Summonerinos. We're here on the Rift for game number 2 of the OMEN Encounter. It is Nightblue's team, aptly named on the blue side, and Imaqtpie and his boys off on the red side. We have a couple different picks, a couple different champions from what we saw last game, and some of them have switched sides in this one. Optimus, Tom, and Sifa going to be bringing you game number 2, followed up by game number 3 here on the evening. But this one, it's sure to be a doozy. PewDiePie's team definitely put the hurt on Trick's Army last game, Sifa.
Yeah, gosh, they came in really strong. Really impressive team play from them, looking a lot better than they did in week 1, and definitely a lot better than they looked in night 1. Imaqtpie opting to play Victor this game. Curious to see how that's going to work out for him. Harry Abs also on Vi. Vi, not a jungler we've seen a whole lot of in competitive play on this patch. Nightblue, on the other hand, opting for Jarvan. Jarvan, kind of a new consistent pick for this patch. Definitely not the strongest champion, but goes pretty well into just about any team comp. How do you feel about this bot lane matchup?
This bot lane's, I mean, it's the Pride and Joy, Janna, and Lucian in the bot lane on one side, and the other one, I actually had to rearrange my scoreboard here because I completely forgot what it was. It's Graves and Thresh, which just speaks to me that it's a very safe lane. Graves can wind up doing something very similar to what Lucian Thresh can do, where you wind up dashing forward, getting an auto attack off at a buckshot, and then taking a lantern out to have a successful trade. He also has the dash capabilities to dodge out on Lucian's piercing light, which is something that not all AD carries wind up having against Lucian in lane. So while Graves might be favored in the actual straight AD carry versus AD carry matchup, Fabi and Blem weren't putting the hurt on Zerbeck and Sicko Scott last game. The Janna shields were very clutch from Blem, and the extra burst of damage coming up from those shields could be very powerful. But that's not really going to matter anymore, because if we paid attention to the game here, we can see that there's a lane swap situation going on. Fabi and Blem going into the top lane, and it looks like a duo jungle situation here from Harry Abs and Grigney, as they're going to be buddy jungling the enemy jungle.
I'm pretty interested to see exactly how this is going to work out for them. Obviously, this Riven is really, really close to that Vi and that Mundo, and I'm wondering if they're going to collide here, and that might be a little bit of a point of early contention. Imaqtpie doing pretty well on that mid lane against Fishing for Earth. Kind of surprising given how little experience he has on that champ, but Fishing for Earth showing dominance, getting that level 2 first, and he looks like he wants control of this lane despite the fact that he is now starting to lose trades. Meanwhile, we can kind of look across the map at this point and see the vision control hasn't been really established by either side. We do see the lane swap coming out, so some smart technical play coming out from Imaqtpie's side, not wanting to get that 2v2 lane, but we do now see Riven and Thresh opting to go up there. Uzi trying to push this bot wave in, denying as much experience as possible to Mundo on the opposite side. Mundo and Vi, of course, still opting to do the duo jungle, and you know, it's going to be interesting to see what fights they look for with this lane swap. Not a whole lot of these players have experience. Moonway just instantly going aggressive, but does get the early flash from Fabi. Nightlight coming in, plays him back. Oof, aggressive play.
Yeah, that was a very aggressive player. Moonway able to kind of sneak into the opposite brush. Meanwhile, in mid lane, we did kind of see Harry Az and Grigney maybe trying to get some pressure down the Fishing for Earth. Didn't really bite the bait, though, as PewDiePie is going to be getting a lot of poke damage put down to that Lissandra. Victor versus the Lissandra matchup, we said it was going to be a bit of Victor bullying around a Fishing for Earth here, and Imaqtpie not disappointing in this matchup thus far.
Yeah, Imaqtpie surprisingly solid mid laner. You know, we only really know him for his bot lane play, and doing really well. You know, I'm impressed. I think this is in his favor in the early game. Lissandra, you know, not exactly adept with trading with other mages, much better against melee characters and assassins, but PewDiePie knowing he has the advantage here and pressing it really well.
Well, PewDiePie getting a little bit of extra CS off of that advantage did put Fate Follows, Fishing for Earth, back in lane. Double Dorian's ring have been acquired by Lissandra. PewDiePie is going to get a recall for himself. The CS advantage picked up 2 Dorians and a pair of boots for himself. So a little bit extra mobility in lane coming out from that one. Top lane, we have an interesting duo lane matchup as Moonway, after burning that flash early on, has kind of fallen back in this duo lane here. Has whatever, grammar. Has him as a Thresh to keep himself a little bit safer in this lane from the poke coming out from Fabi and the shields coming out from Blem. Whereas on the bot side of the map, we do wind up seeing that Uzi 25 CS compared to Dr. Mundo. Grigney has now gone down there, only about 3 CS to his own name after the duo jungle system was it's a little bit of codependency for a little bit too long. Grigney getting a little bit of damage on the Uzi, but tanks a couple tower shots too, dropping down fairly low in that situation bot lane.
And Grigney not too far behind in experience points, which is what's really important in these lane swap situations. But Graves obviously looking to farm much more confidently, and hopefully, I'm really hoping to see aggressive play from him. He definitely wants to try to zone this Mundo out as much as possible. You can see him now. Kind of looks like he's trying to freeze that under tower, and that'll work out really well for him if he can keep that up, because he's going to consistently be ahead of that Mundo pick. Does instead opt to push, though, so much for that strategy. Wants to get as much pressure as possible.
So much for that one. We see that on both sides of the map, blue side has been pushing up in those lanes. 25 CS actually accrued for Riven compared to the 4 of Dr. Mundo. So this Thresh support coming up and to go the duo lane against the AD carry and support on the top side of the map, really paying off dividends right here. Riven's able to go back and pick up her patented triple longsword start, going to be building all of the sword items as Riven will eventually be going for something along the lines of Brutalizer, as well as a Tiamat into Ravenous Hydra in the later stage of the game. That's what we saw Grigney doing last game. You can only expect very similar results coming out from Moonlight, but in the mid lane we have a little bit of action here. Ice Path goes out for fishing for Earth, a little bit of aggression goes down to Imaqtpie, but he's able to just back away from this one. I am Matlife as well as Nightblue were kind of showing up towards the mid lane, applying a little bit of pressure back onto the Donger.
Good read from Imaqtpie to back off there. He does have his ult now, so he's a little bit advantaged in this mid lane matchup, but also excellent roam from I am Matlife, realizing that there was no reason for him to be in that top lane alone, so instead deciding to use his time to roam down. Nothing came from it, so it's not a huge deal here, but that kind of technical play could come into advantage for them in the future. Does land the hook here.
Hook from Matlife, the flay back down on the Fabi, winds up pulling in Uzi right here, the damage coming out. Smoke screen goes as well, Buckshot had already been used to get Fabi down that low. Blem with the shield there has been able to mitigate some of that damage, but that's going to wind up being a forced back on Fabi. Graves did wind up switching lane from the bottom side back to the top side, so he had a pickaxe as well as an additional longsword, so he could bully him out just a little bit, but Fabi, having not yet gone back, now has some health potions to his name as well as a BF sword for a first spectral damage.
And notice there how Blem kind of opted to roam down, but doesn't really have the wards at this point to gain any vision control from the freedom he has to roam. So not a whole lot of advantage gained there. Of course, Fabi also isn't going to lose too much CS. Blem opting to tank the wave instead of letting it hit the tower. Good choice from him. So Fabi, despite having being sent back, not too far behind, does not have his flash though for another couple seconds, but I doubt anyone's going to be able to take advantage of that because the cooldown is just about up.
So Flash going to be coming up fairly soon for that one. We'll see if there's any pressure put on that side of the map. In the meantime, we do have bottom lane going back to the solo laners, but it's on the bot side of the map this time. Dr. Mundo surprisingly has hit level 6 first. The CS was not in his advantage, but the experience from the duo jungle was. Moonway did have to take time to wind up going for that lane swap. In his situation, he opted not to use the teleport. So experience disadvantage for him, but we see the duo lane from the side of Nightblue Squadron roaming down to the bottom side of the map too. Can they apply some pressure onto Grigney's Mundo, or are they instead going for some forward map pressure? And, well, we said it was a little too anticlimactic, so in comes First Blood. Fabi, a solo kill on Riven.
And Fabi clearly looking much more comfortable in these lane swap situations. Obviously a guy who's comfortable dueling just about any champion, and Moonway, despite looking like a pretty solid Riven player, obviously not comfortable against Lucian in that situation. Probably not a matchup Moonway's ever had to deal with in the top lane, and much more used to being ahead in the early game. So good lane swap coming out from QtPie's team, obviously paying off dividends for them, but now I'm wondering if they're going to have to give up this bot lane turret for that kill in the top lane.
IUZ and Matlife wailing away on the bottom lane tower. Grigney has shown up, opted not to use the teleport in that situation. Tower taking a little bit of pain and punishment from IUZ and his not Uzi on my grave skin, as I learned through Twitch chat. But 323 HP left in that bottom lane tower is looking to go down fairly soon. There's a fresh wave of minions, and Dr. Mundo, not the wave-clearing-ist champion of the bunch, although they do wind up not applying as much pressure as I thought they were going to on this tower. So taking pot shots away at Grigney, we do see that Fabi and Blem making their way down. Tower getting extremely low from the minions, and the red turret will be picked up here by Uzi. Matlife with the hook onto Grigney, gets blown up right there by the collateral damage coming out from Graves. Fabi and Blem turn around to this one. Blem has to flash away. They thought it was a 3v2, but Grigney gets dropped immediately there by Graves.
Just You know, this is the kind of play that I love to see in these games. These excellent rotational plays, being very aware of when your opponent is overextending and taking great advantage of that. Fishing for Earth, obviously coming in there. If he had managed to get an ultimate off, that would have been a huge, huge advantage for Nightblue's side. Right now, about a 1k gold lead, nothing too big, but the whole team is moving together and rotating together. So, excellent team play from them. We'll see if they can keep up with this game. Obviously thrown off by the lane swap, and Moonway looks like he's having a rough time right now.
Moonway, yeah, just eating the cleavers back and forth from Gradney. The teleport was used to get up there right now. Moonway going to have to dash away here. Wind up using the Valor to try to get away from that one. Mundo cleaver is up. Not going to wind up throwing that one. PewDiePie roamed up to the side. MattLife throws out a hook, goes wide to the right. Fishing for Earth off to the side. Is going to wind up ducking away from an ice path from that Vault Breaker. Looks like a tower winds up going down for the blue team. Potentially going off in top lane. Fabi, in the meantime, is taking a lot of damage here. Nightblue's able to pick up the kill. Help from the Cataclysm as well as iUzi coming into the bot lane to provide a little bit of supplemental damage for that.
And despite Fabi having a ton of damage at this stage in the game, it's just not enough to kill the Jarvan very quickly, and iUzi obviously there with the follow-up. Excellent, excellent rotation from Nightblue. Strong Jarvan player. Does opt for the early game aggressive jungle item, getting that armor penetration and damage. I'm really excited to see exactly how he uses this Jarvan pickup. Looks pretty confident on it, and it'll be interesting to see how this top lane works out as well. Mundo looks like he's opting for Warmog's armor here from that new build path. Not an item I've seen a whole ton of, so I don't really know what to expect.
Well, meanwhile, there's a dive going down. Moonway once again, the brunt of the punishment right here. Harryaz going in. Grigney actually taking the tower up. Oh, the wind slash is able to help out with the tower shot. Takes down Grigney. It's a 1-for-1 trade as Harryaz picks up a kill there onto Moonway. Now in comes Fishing for Earth. The Ice Tomb goes off onto Blem. The Monsoon is popped. MattLife goes backwards. Nightblue's actually the one that picks up the kill from that one. Now Harryaz getting slowed down by the Ice Chunks here. Harryaz is going to get hooked up, and it's a double kill for Nightblue in that situation. How not to tower dive 101.
Yeah, always risky to tower dive a Riven. Has so much CC, so much mobility. That wind slash coming in huge, and obviously the tower damage itself doing really, really good work there. Really love Fishing for Earth's Lissandra build. If you guys were wondering, I was harping really hard on Stromp this last game for the aggressive early game build, trying to go for the burst path. Cooldown reduction is what I love to see. Lissandra is a champion with high base damages and not amazing scaling. So when you get that cooldown reduction, you get the maximum value out of that AoE and the most amount of ults possible, which means that in this mid game between Nightblue and Fishing for Earth, they're going to be able to keep people locked down anytime they need a kill.
All right, now it looks like across the board, Nightblue's team has a solid 3,000 gold advantage in their favor. MattLife trying to recall here is going to get knocked up by Blem. The box goes down actually as Fabi starts putting out a lot of damage down on the Thresh. Ultimate has been burned for MattLife. That one won't be available for a little over a minute right here. Actually 2 minutes here. 124 seconds on the box cooldown left from that one. So MattLife had to burn the ultimate there, but did not wind up going down despite the pressure being put down from Fabi. They'd wind up rotating all the way to mid lane over here as iUzi now starting to apply the pressure on Graves. 120 CS compared to 115 across the 80 carries. Both have a kill. There's a death on the side of Fabi, however, both their itemization looking fairly similar right now. BF swords, pickaxes on their way to both grabbing an Infinity Edge.
Well, for me, really the big thing there is I'm really surprised that Imaqtpie, Blem, and Fabi didn't go in. Fight coming out here, though.
Well, they got into on, if that makes sense right there. Fishing for Earth, able to wind up blowing them up, picks up a kill. Moonway also over the wall, picks up a Q, and Imaqtpie. The dragon is now available on the map. Grigney has been split pushing on the top lane, does not have teleport available though, so if Nightblue's team wants to go for this dragon, they are not going to wind up having a Dr. Mundo join the fray. We did see a flash in mid lane there from Fishing for Earth. He was getting jumped on over by Fabi. Second dragon in the game though has been picked up by Nightblue's squadron. That gives him some pushing power. 15% damage to towers and buildings has been acquired on top of the 6% AD and AP.
Huge advantage here to Nightblue's team, and as this game moves on, all PewDiePie's team really can do at this point is stall for late game, because at this point with Lissandra having that early Morellonomicon, she's going to have ultimate available every fight, and this is going to be really hard for them.
Yeah, the Lissandra ultimate so far has been pretty crucial here coming out from Fishing for Earth. He's been able to utilize that one to lock up key targets in these fights, and he's already 1-0-3. So Fatefall showing a little bit more proficiency on this Lissandra, at least feeling a little bit more comfortable on it. Like we said, we saw him playing Lissandra, saw him playing Xerath. Wasn't necessarily the best kind of picks for him. Nightblue's, he was on Trick2G's team last week. He wound up going 0-3 with that squadron. Nightblue's team, Last game they played, they did wind up falling to Voyboy's team, but this game here, they're looking to have a control of the early game, at least so it seems, through the gold counts and kills. 25,000 compared to 22,000 in the gold, so still 3k gold, 7 kills to 2. Make that one 8 here. PewDiePie getting locked up. There's that Ice Tomb right there. Matlife's the one that winds up picking up the kill secure on Thresh.
And once again, really impressive play from Imaqtpie and Fishing for Earth. Imaqtpie consistently initiating those fights and then Fishing for Earth there to apply that follow-up CC, and of course Uzi now with that Infinity Edge doing the majority of the damage in those engages. So good team coordination there, excellent follow-ups, and at this point with that mid-turret down, they're going to have control of pretty much all of Imaqtpie's side's jungle.
Yeah, you do see Grigney and Moonway in this top lane. Grigney with the Warmog's armor completed an additional Giant's Belt on him over there, just stacking up the HP, not really going for the full-on resistances at this point in time, despite a lot of AD damage coming out from the side of Nightblue's team, although the Lissandra is proving to be a big threat in the AP department. Speaking of Lissandra, though, winds up getting down the AoE freeze, but she is going to wind up going down to PewDiePie's Victor here. The boxes come back up for Matlife, but a Cleaver lands from Grigney. A hook winds up bringing Dr. Luna back into the fray. The flag and drag across the PewDiePie, collateral damage as well. Nightblue picks up the kill, goes onto a rampage. PewDiePie down. Moonway does get exhausted in the backside, so the Wind Slash I will pick up the kill. In comes Vi. She wants to take it down. Nightblue on Jarvan. The culling comes across as well. Fabi picks up one. A double kill for Vi. That's a complete turnaround there from PewDiePie's team. It's a 4-for-1 trade in their favor.
And that's the fight that they really wanted. Obviously, those cooldowns not quite available for Lissandra yet, despite her early cooldown reduction build. Imaqtpie looking like he's in trouble here. Looks like Harryabs is going to opt to back off, but they entered and they forced that fight at the perfect window. None of the cooldowns were available for the enemy team, and they had all of theirs available. Grigney, of course, very, very tanky. When there's not that burst damage to shut him down, his sustained damage is massive. That Warmog's giving him so much health and making it so difficult for him to be burst down at all. And of course, when you have no cooldowns, you're not going to do any damage.
Yeah, you mentioned the cooldowns. Nightblue's team had just used a lot of their abilities to burst down in the mid lane and take a mid lane tower. They immediately moved up towards that top lane tier 2, went to go push it down. They got the tower, but they paid the price for it in that circumstance. I want to say they overextended a little bit, but it's really hard to argue with the fact that they got 5 towers compared to 1 now out of this one. The map pressure is immense. They're utilizing the fact that they deal that extra damage to towers to try to take them down as quickly as possible. They did get caught out in that situation, and it gave some much needed gold over to PewDiePie's team. However, Morello Namakan has been completed by PewDiePie himself, but Fabi actually maybe doing some overextending of his own here in the bottom lane. Gets caught up by Moonway and Imaqtpie. A hook, and Moonway is able to secure the kill on Fabi right over there. Infinity Edge and Zeal, not the biggest itemization on him right now, but it still is a lot more compared to just the Infinity Edge on Graze. Moonway, in the meantime, maybe staying around a little bit too long. PewDiePie uses the ultimate right there. Victor's able to pick up a kill very nicely there, just using his AoE ultimate there, the little robot raining down pain on him over there. So Chaos Storm, there we go. Fishing for the name and didn't quite find it. But Chaos Storm picks up a nice kill.
Well, PewDiePie did find a kill there, and a lot of that is due to poor positioning from Moonway. Greedy rotation there from Imaqtpie for sure, but because no one was in that enemy jungle to follow up on him moving in without a lot of vision control, they were able to pick up that kill on Fabi. So in the end, it ended up being a good decision, but then Moonway opted to stick around a little bit too long. You did see Imaqtpie burning most of his defensive cooldowns there to try to save him, but in the end, didn't really work out. I'm interested to see what they do with this advantage now, and we see the gold lead slowly swinging back to PewDiePie's side. They're now only at a 3k disadvantage, and at this point, if they keep making plays and they keep trading 1-for-1, they'll probably be able to scale into the late game pretty well.
Yeah, and the turnaround from the kills right there was just 7-2 in favor of Nightblue and the blue team. Now 10-7. 4 kills were burned in the top lane, 5 kills were burned in the top lane, 2 more in the bottom lane actually. So lots of change coming out over here. Now Moonway trying to get jumped on here by Blem. The dive comes in, the assault and battery. Harryabs, he's able to dive that tower quite easily. Fabi's the one who actually gets the kill secure on that one. The tower is now going to go down. 40 seconds left on the Dragons. They can't exactly go for this one right away, but they may look to control the vision in the area.
Well, one thing to consider here is how much Moonway is getting caught out. Definitely having a rough game and not looking nearly as confident on Ribbon as Grigney did in the last game, but good decision-making from PewDiePie's team to kind of dive that Ribbon to kind of burst her down so she can't get the tankiness from spamming her Valor. Good choice.
I think it's an excellent gank, and I think at this point with Riven so far behind, it's going to be harder and harder for Nightblue's team to team fight outside of those situations where they can just burst someone down with the Fishing for Earth lockdown.
Well, Cutie team moving up towards the Baron side of the map. Don't think they're going to go for that one quite yet. Don't really have the levels or potentially even the damage to take down Baron Nashor. However, Dragon across the opposite side of the map has spawned, and that could be something that Cutie and his team may want to set their sights on. Right now, they have 0 of the Dragon buffs. Nightblue's team has controlled both of them thus far. It looks like with both teams knowing that objective is on the map, wards in the river, pink ones on the side of Nightblue's team. They're not quite close enough to get vision on the pit of Cutie wards, however, kind of splitting Nightblue's wards on the left side, Cutie wards on the right side. Both of these teams now moving all the way from the mid lane, rotating slowly but surely over by the Dragon Pit area. The Scuttle Crab control may be something to keep your eyes peeled for. Iuzi is over there. Cutie did poke at it with a little Victor laser beam. It looks like it is going to be Nightblue's team that pick up the crab control in this area, but you got to be careful here. There's a lot of AoE ultimates now. There's a lot of potential damage to come out here. Looks like the hook goes down the Harry Abs. He's going to get blown up right here. Fishing for Earth, uses the item on himself. Gets the AoE damage down. The Cataclysm comes down. The Chaos Stormers on the enemy team, but everybody from Cutie team is just melting right now. 3 of them have been eliminated. Grigney on the back line is trying to run away. Nightblue went a little bit too deep for Cutie actually died in the Chaos Storm remnants over there. Grigney is going to be hit up by the rest of the 4 members of Nightblue's team, though. Iuzi picks up that kill. Now going on to Imaqtpie. Wants it throwing down the gravity field, but a flash forward from Iuzi picks up a double kill. It's a 5 for 1, an ace for Nightblue's team. They don't even need a smite to take down this dragon.
Really rough situation for Blem there. Got bursted down before he could use that ult to disengage. One of the big things about both these comps is they both clearly want to go in and have those team fights, and the advantage that Imaqtpie's team has is that Blem can disengage. However, Blem hesitating to go in there, was kind of on the outside of the fight, not in a good position to Monsoon, not in a good position to Tornado, and ended up getting blown up before he could disengage the fight and kind of back his team out.
Well, that is the 3rd Dragon buff picked up for the side of Nightblue's team. Now, it is also a 38.8k gold lead compared to the 34.2 of Cutie and the boys. That is going to mean they have extra movement speed. They have a gold lead to start finishing some pretty big items. Morellonomicon and a Leandri's Torment picked up by Fishing for F on Lissandra. Hey, everything slows. That's going to start taking away a lot of % health damage when you have a tankier build Vi, or Vi who can build a little bit tankier, and a Dr. Mundo with plenty of health. It's not necessarily going to be the worst item purchase in the world.
No, not at all, and they've clearly identified that they don't necessarily need Fishing for Earth for that burst damage, but that the cooldown reduction in that Morellonomicon, pretty much Fishing for Earth's purpose is to lock down the carries and then stop that Mundo from doing anything in a fight. You know, using the Morellonomicon to nullify the ult, using that percentage damage to really hurt Mundo.
They tried to lock down Harry out there. The Cataclysm was burned as well, but they were able to get him out of there. 2 hooks and miss from Matlife, so they're not going to wind up getting a follow-up here. The damage was burst down on the Dr. Mundo. He popped his own ultimate right there. The Sadism actually going to be healing himself back up to full. Does not have that ability for the next team fight, but he will be at full HP to defend against this tower. Nightblue's team deciding that the bottom lane is not the place they want to be. Rotates over towards the mid lane. Iuzi was pushing that one out, trying to pressure the inhibitor tower a little bit. There's still some minions floating around. They are going to actually putting pings down onto Baron buff. Riven is in the bottom lane to deal with Dr. Mundo. Both solo laners have their teleports available. There's no ward control over here for Nightblue's team. There is a ward on the Baron pit itself for Imaqtpie, and it looks like Nightblue's team just going to put some wards down and start the recalls.
And one of the things to consider here is that Dr. Mundo has no way to stop Riven's TP, but Riven can always stun Mundo out of his TP. So have to be really careful about how they use these TPs here. Imaqtpie's team identifying that the enemy team definitely can take Baron and instead opting to push up the mid lane, sort of punishing them for being out of position here, but they do not get that mid lane turret. So no real advantage on either side, and despite having Scuttle Crab around the Baron pit, no team really has long-lasting vision control or deep wards enough. However, on Nightblue's side, we do see the bottom ward side of the jungle warded, so they can tell if the enemy team is not around the Baron pit, which within itself is some good information for the team.
So we do see vision control being yet again a crucial point of a decisive challenger and master tier game. Who would have thought? 42.2k gold compared to 38.2k gold. Still solid 4k in the advantage pockets of Nightblue's team. Moonway and Greedy in the bottom lane just continuing to see us push those waves up. And we've got a little bit of a stalemate in this game, something we don't actually see all too often in these OMEN Encounter games. Normally they're full of a lot of kills, they're full of a lot of map pressure, and they're full of people running around the map trying to split push. But in this one, it's just jockeying back and forth for position. We just continue to see the duel between Moonway and Grigney in the bot lane. Moonway actually popping his Blade of the Exile there, getting a bit of extra damage down on Grigney, but the Sadism didn't even have to be popped in that circumstance. So Riven, if they so choose to get into a team fight, it's not going to have that ultimate, not going to have that burst of execute damage.
And I mean, they traded Randuin's Omen for the Riven ultimate cooldown there, so not a great trade. We do see Fishing for going here. Still doesn't have his Zhonya's, has to play defensive.
Actually wanted to pick up a lot of kills in this circumstances. Double kill picked up now for Uzi. Another kill picked up on the backside for Fishing for Earth. A kill on the Harryaz means double buffs now for Lissandra. The ping's going down. They want to push this mid lane. 3 kills were picked up for the price of none in that trade. Mundo was still away in the bottom lane, and Riven wound up using her teleport to join the fray. They're going to want to go down to this mid lane inhibitor tower right now. This getting taken down fairly quickly. Nightblue's team going to get an inhibitor for the troubles after this. 27 minutes, less than that into the game. Mid lane inhibitor down already.
And decisive engage coming out from Nightblue's side, looking really strong here. And if they keep making plays like that, this game is going to be easy for them to end. However, QtPie's team obviously been playing behind this whole game and still making strong plays. So we'll see if Nightblue's team overextends with all these cooldowns not available, and if QtPie's team can punish that.
Well, with a lot of gold from that surge of battle on the field, we do see Nightblue's team picking up a lot of key items. And by key items, I mean big, shiny, awesome ones. Last Whisper, Brutalizer, Ravenous Hydra is the build now for Moonway on Riven. Leandry Storm was the last purchase for Fishing for Earth. Now we see him going for a Void Staff on top of that, going to be shredding through what little magic resistance the enemy team actually already has. Harryaz and Grigney going on to Fishing for Earth here, whilst the Ice team on himself. The hook came out from Matlife. It looks like that QtPie's Victor is going to be able to pick up a kill. Harryaz going to get hooked back up by Matlife for the second time in this fight. Uzi picks up a kill. The flag and drag from Night with the flash over the wall. The Cataclysm goes down on QtPie and Babby. The damage dealers are locked up. In comes Riven. A double kill picked up on both carries from QtPie's team. Matlife gets the Howling Gale onto him, not able to pick up a hook onto the remaining members of QtPie's team. That is a 3-for-1 trade in favor of Nightblue and his team. Lem trying to recall in the bush. Hook goes out from Matlife. It's the wrong direction, but doesn't matter. They're just forcing away the enemy team. The Baron hasn't started up. Nightblue's team wants to take this one for themselves.
Really smart play coming out from Matlife and Uzi to realize that Lissandra was caught out. She burned her defensive cooldown to stay here. Blem flash on the wall to try to steal. To no avail. Baron for Nightblue's team.
That was a really good job of them just putting the pause button on Baron so Blem could flash in and be like, oh man, I should not be here right now. They're able to pick up the kill on that one. Nightblue uses the smite, but it doesn't matter because with Death Timer still on the side of QtPie's team, they should be able to get this dragon, especially because there's super minions wailing away towards their Nexus towers. This is going to be the 4th dragon acquired by Nightblue's team. Baron buff, 4 dragon buffs. They have all the statistics in the world they need to start pushing up some lanes and applying even more pressure than they already are exerting on the map against QtPie's squad. Actually see Harryaz coming in, trying to get the... Oh, the mid-air! Look! From Matlife on the charge, the Lantern over the wall as well. Harryaz thought he had a kill on Nightblue, but Matlife is there to save the day.
1-0 and 16. Matlife looking so strong on one of his favorite champions, Thresh. This is why so many people ban the champion against him. He is so proficient, can read just about every player he comes up against. Excellent predictive hooks. You know, excellent comparison to his namesake. Closer to the NA version of Matlife, in my opinion, from what we've seen.
Makes sense with his name. It's Matlife instead of Madlife, only 1 letter away, so... Of course he's got to try to impersonate him, but anyway... That hook was very impressive. The save, even more impressive. The fact that he's consistently landing in this matchup and he is 1-0 in 16 takes the cake. Matlife definitely showing why he was a prime pickup for Nightblue's team. Boy's team had him last week and it worked out perfect for them. This time around, Nightblue, I believe it was the first pick for his team, was it not?
Yes, it was. Matlife, a really strong first pick. So smart from Nightblue here to pick up that guy. He can play with any AD carry, competent support player, plays well on everybody with the hook and everybody without. Just a very strong player overall.
Yeah, well, actually, we see now the buffs on Nightblue's team. The Baron buffed up minions mean that they're going to be pushing down multiple ways. Riven in the top lane, just kind of playing Ring Around the Rosie with Bolt, Vi, and Lucian in this top lane area. Actually popping the Blade of the Exile, trying to go down the Fabi. Uzi now popped up over here. Harryaz is going to wind up getting blown up right there. Blade of the Exile and the actual wind slash, the execute picking up a kill. Collateral damage eviscerates Fabby. A double kill picked up now for Graze after PewDiePie gets locked up in the Cataclysm. Fishing for Herb, winds up soloing down Greatney. That Leandry's Torment Void Staff purchase working out perfectly to take down a very, very beefy Dr. Mundo in that situation here. Super Minions on the Nexus Towers. The Baron buff is there. GGs are being thrown out by Cutie and the boys already. Looks like Nightblue and his team, they pick up their first win of the week. PewDiePie and his boys fall to 1-2 on the OMEN Encounter second week. And now Nightblue's team at 1-1. They have to fight against Trick2G and his army. Both teams go to 1-1. Only one can emerge 2-1.
And both teams, both Trick2G's team and Nightblue's team, have been using this Lissandra pick so well. Trick2G's team not quite as well in that first game of the day, but the night before, obviously, very using it well. I'm curious what these mid laners are going to play against each other. What is Strompus going to play against Fishing for Earth? Only one person can have Lissandra if it's not banned, and honestly, given the level of play we've seen from Fishing Earth, I would expect it to be banned pretty darn quickly.
Well, we're going to have to see, guys. We still have a third and final match for the OMEN Encounters week number 2, day number 2. It's going to be Nightblue's team staying on the Rift. They're going to wind up going up against the Trick2G army. Like I said before, both teams are currently 1-1 in the week. This will be to figure out who finishes 2-1 and ties with Voyboy and his Voice Scouts, and who falls to 1-2 to tie with Imaqtpie, who's his team. They wound up beating up on Trick's team earlier today. They lost to Voyboy's team day number 1, and here's their second loss at the hands of Nightblue and his squad. Guys, we're going to get set up to go on the Rift for that remaining game. Don't forget to check out OMEN